Pakistan has the reputation of being one of the world's least stable countries. The expedition has needed special permission to travel throughout this region. The first film crew allowed into this highly sensitive area for years.
Many people have asked why I'm working in Pakistan, because of the security issues there. But the landscape is so unique that I need to go and do this project. And in many ways, the security problem that exists is actually responsible for very few people going there, including photographers. If the Karakoram Mountains were anywhere else in the world, there would probably be about 1 million people going through them. They have that grandeur, but because it's Pakistan and because of the situation that exists there, very little has been done. I think there's been 2 books, photographic books done in Pakistan, one in the 70s by Galen Rowell, and the other in the mid-80s by Shiro Shirahata, a Japanese photographer. I'd like to create a body of work before the inevitable commercialisation of the Karakoram Mountains begins.
The trek initially follows the course of the Braldu River. The ground here is constantly changing. Rockfalls are common. Loose scree dominates. There are few places to make camp. It's been a long first day, and that's followed by a 4 AM start next morning. Colin wants to exploit every opportunity and is determined to catch the first light. He originally came here in 1996, and he's been obsessed with the Karakoram ever since.
One of the most important aspects of photographing mountains is research, and that's done simply by being there and having probably failed to get an image the first time, but it just makes you a little bit more determined to get the picture right the next time.
I think the sun will hit that peak in the next 10 to 15 minutes. There's not much in the way of drama up there. There's no cloud. It's a clear sky, so it's not quite what I'd wished for, but we should get a result from it.
When you're there the first time, you're able to work out where you want to be, and more importantly, when you want to be there. And that's not just at dusk or at dawn, but at what time of the year you need to be there. And that ultimately will be dictated by the position of the sun in the sky.
I'm expecting the light to come up at any minute, but there's no doubt that it's been held back by a slightly bigger mountain, because the surrounding mountains are already being illuminated by this light. So we just need this light to come down the mountain a bit.
Knowing there's a long day's trek ahead, the porters are already starting to move camp. But in the hope of capturing a powerful image, Colin's decided to stay put a bit longer.
That's the light just piercing the very summit at the moment. So within the next 5 or 10 minutes it'll begin to illuminate that tower there. Fantastic just to watch and witness this.
Today, waiting for the light has been a frustrating experience. As often with this kind of photography, the sunrise didn't quite materialise. In Scotland, this would be a mere irritation. In Pakistan, for someone who's a perfectionist, it's a significant setback.
I'm really quite disappointed by the combination of the light and the landscape. The snow is a little bit patchy. By the time the light caught the peak, it had sort of cleaned up. Instead of it being pink and or even that yellowness that you get in the light, it's actually white light that's up there, and there's actually not enough modelling in this. It's still a very one-dimensional landscape. You can never tell if you're going to be successful in the morning or in the evening. You've just got to get up and try. You might think you've got a great photograph, but until you actually see the combination of light on the landscape, you just don't know. And I'm afraid this morning it's just been a bit of an anticlimax.
What I'm really looking for with these mountain photographs is to use these fine shapes and graphics, but to match them with the very finest light that I can find. So you've got this fusion of landscape and light, and sometimes you'll find it, most often you won't, but when you do, it's a fantastic feeling. You know you've captured a unique moment that will never repeat itself.
Compared with the popular region of Everest, relatively few people come to the Karakoram. Even today, information and maps are hard to come by. To fully understand this area, you also need to know its history, and in Colin's case, its photographic history. So his expedition began with a visit to Chris Bartle, a specialist antiquarian bookseller in Pitlochry.
The piece de resistance I've got to show you is this book here, which is a huge volume. It's actually 2 volumes. This is the first volume, because this was published in 1912, and this is the Duke of Abruzzi's expedition in 1909. And on the expedition was the photographer Vittorio Sella, who had a fantastic reputation, and this book's superbly illustrated.
His photography is just remarkable, it really is. And the photographs taken in this book were shot with a camera that he had made in London, in mahogany, by a company called Dalmia, and the negatives were 11 by 14 inches in size, glass negatives, which were then processed on the glacier. And what I find absolutely amazing is the fact that they still had to get these glass negatives down the Baltoro Glacier. All it would have taken would have been the slip of a Balti's foot, and that image would have become oblivion.
So this is volume 2, Colin. Maps and panoramas from the expedition, and this is what is really special. Some huge pull-out.
Oh, fantastic! Look
panoramas.
At these are Vittorio's original panoramas.
Exactly.
Look at that.
101 years old, and
just fantastic to see these original photographs.
This actually shows where the panoramas were taken from. It's really quite a detailed map.
The actual locations that Vittorio took the photographs from.
Yeah, these are all marked here. You can see where the...
well, that's fantastic.
That's exactly where the photographs were taken.
Well, that'll give me an exact positioning for some of those photographs, because there's 1 or 2 that I hope to replicate, because what I think we'll see is quite a big change in the condition that the glacier is in now. You
can clearly see all the major peaks. K2, of course, at the top here. Gasherbrum, another one of the 8,000 metre peaks. We've got Hidden Peak. And down here we've got Masherbrum. Let's look at one of the panoramas, Colin. Here's one looking directly at K2. This is from the Godwin-Austen Glacier.
Just tremendous. You can see that sort of pyramidal,
the classic
mass.
Sort of image we see of K2, isn't it? Perhaps one of the most impressive amongst them all is this one.
Yeah, this is one of my favourites, looking towards Concordia from somewhere, I think, high in Golden Throne. I think this panorama is a very, very good visual summary of the Baltoro Glacier.
Gives you some idea of the height, doesn't it? And you've got the people in the foreground. It's quite special.
These are wonderful to see, they really are. And what a place the world would have been just back then, just over 100 years ago.
If there's one image of Sellers that Colin's keen to replicate, it's the view looking back down the Baltoro Glacier. But it won't be easy. The glacier has changed enormously in the intervening century, and it's not entirely clear where the Italian photographer placed his tripod. And things have changed in other ways too. Sella was part of the Duke of Abruzzi's abortive attempt to climb K2. The Duke didn't reach his summit, but he did set a new altitude record. His team had the luxury of being here for 6 months. Colin has just 6 weeks. The two expeditions couldn't be more different.
He landed in Bombay with 6 tons of equipment, which was all transported from Bombay to Rawalpindi, largely on animals, and after that on the backs of men. It was run very much like a military campaign, and very successfully. And the Duke, because of his resources, had artisans that helped create the equipment they needed here, because much of the equipment was new and had to be evolved. The group had sleeping bags which were made in modular systems. One was camel hair, there was a second eiderdown layer, and then there was a goat skin covered with canvas which waterproofed that. These bags could be used individually, which would suit the different climates between Bombay and the Karakoram, or they could be used together where the temperatures were cold.
The team are now heading for camp at Paiju. Already they're at 3,500 metres and will stay here for 1 night. Even so, the whole camp needs to be established on a cramped site of rocky terrain above the valley floor. As always on trek, there's plenty of running repairs to do. The next morning, everyone begins the journey northwest up a subsidiary glacier. They're heading towards Uli Biacho, a higher camp that should give outstanding views of one of the most famous set of peaks in the Karakoram, Trango Towers. Colin plans to stay here for a few days, hoping for the opportunity to photograph this place at its most dramatic.
The big iconic pictures still drive me, and they are really crucial to this project. I've really got to get images that transcend what trekkers can shoot on a trip like this. The challenge I have with this project is how to vary these shots with other types of images that essentially will change the pace. Just coming in a bit closer. Thank you very much. I come and show you photo on computer.
Yeah.
2 minutes. If there are too many big shots, it means that you become bored, visually bored by the similarity of the images within this landscape. Very handsome, very handsome. We're all bombarded on a daily basis by millions of images, and photographers are able to distill these images from that chaos by using the juxtaposition of colours, of graphics, of distilling the lines within the landscape, so that they can create an image that the eye can navigate. And this is crucial. Okay, that looks good. I just need to, excuse me, just, that's it.
Okay, just see where my hand is. Just look at my hand. Good. Thank you very much. Come and see.
There's no shortage of images in these mountains, whether it's the big landscape or portraits of the team. But between the photographic sessions, Colin is keen to find more details about Vittorio Sella's key image from 1909. Although Sella left detailed notes, the exact location of where he took this particular photograph isn't clear. Today the Baltoro looks very different. Colin asks Ali and Karim to help him.
For me, this is a visual summary of the Karakoram. We've got the Mustang Tower.
K2, and this is G4, I think.
We've got Concordia in here, the Baltoro. And Vittorio, he put these porters in, he put them in the dark room. He put them in after he took the photograph. And I think the reason that he's added these figures into his photograph is because photography in 1909 was such a new medium. And because the figures are in, it gives an impression of scale. So people could look at them and think, "God, look how huge these mountains are, look how impressive they are."
We arrive in the Concordia,
Okay.
The other group rest in there. Me and you will going together, maybe 2 hours walking.
Okay.
And then we will show you the
place. Okay.
place.
And so we
Then
can find this photograph. Here it's going. Here it's going. It's been great to call upon the expertise and experience that we've got in this room, and I think we've clearly identified where we need to be to replicate the images that Sella took in 1909. So I'm really excited and looking forward to the challenge.
Before leaving Ulibiajo, Colin needs to capture a key image of the Trango Towers. Although its main summit is over 2,000 metres lower than the highest mountain in the region, K2, its cliffs are some of the tallest in the world.
We're waiting just for a little bit more drama here. I was up here this morning for the dawn, but as I expected there was slightly too much shadow, and now we've got fantastic clarity, but it's a little one-dimensional, and I'm hoping that the cumulus will build up over the snowfields and start to give us some white puffy clouds behind the towers there, and that's going to give us a much better picture. It's currently about 10 o'clock, so I think if I hang around here until probably 1 or 2, I'll get the result I want, and it's really not that bad a place to hang around in.
Now Colin continues his journey up the Baltoro Glacier, moving over a landscape of loose rock and ice. But the rewards are immense as he makes his way to the next camp, Urticus. At over 4,000 metres, the camp looks out to some of the great sights of the Karakoram. But the tone of the whole expedition is about to change. Other trekkers at the campsite have shocking news.
Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for the latest updates.